Hello and welcome to Love Samantha Lee, the More Than Just Pretty podcast. I'm your host, Samantha, and here we explore love, life, spirituality, and relationships through the lens of real beauty, the kind that begins the moment you decide to be unapologetically yourself. Join us as we dive into heartfelt discussions that challenge, inspire, and connect. Are you ready to embrace your true self? Let's begin. What's up? What's up, family? Now, y'all, today, this one is going to be deep. I'm going to tell y'all that now. This one is going to be deep, is going to be deep. Um, it's going to be deep. And I'm going to have to break it all the way down. God, please use me in this moment, Father God. Speak through me, Holy Spirit. Speak through me, Jesus. Speak through me. Thank you. In Jesus' name. All right, y'all. So let's get it started. So guys, I've had a recent discovery about myself. And you guys, every week you tune in. I think this is the 17th episode now. And every week is a new thing God puts on my spirit. That's why I tell you about this whole walk with God is a whole different thing, because it's not, if you stay the same every single week, you're not walking with God enough because the Holy Spirit will 100% reveal things to you that make you feel uncomfortable. And one of those things for me is a thing called limerance. Now, I know a lot of you guys may not be aware of what limerance means or where it comes from. So I'm going to break down, I definitely want to Google a definition of limerance so you have an understanding of what that is. So limerence is a state of mind which results from romantic feelings for another person and typically includes like intrusive, melancholic thoughts. Just it's a state of, I don't know how to say it, but you basically caught up with somebody. I'm gonna say it like that. You're caught up with somebody, and it doesn't have to be romantic. People talk about it in a romantic sense because it does manifest in that way, but romantically you can get caught up with people and you kind of get obsessed with the version of them you've created in your mind, with the version you created of them in your mind. And for whatever reason, these people tend to be unavailable, whether that means that they're just completely out of reach for you, whether it's because maybe they're emotionally unavailable, maybe they don't like you like that, whatever, maybe they're a celebrity and they're just, they're not anybody that you have or are in close proximity with. You have this emotional connection to them and you're always thinking about them, almost to a point that it gets in the way of your day-to-day functioning. And again, it happens on a spectrum. And a part of my journey in understanding more about myself was that because of my upbringing, and it's no shade to my family or anything like that, but my family, when I was growing up in my childhood, my mother was a single mom. My dad was present. He's not that he was not present, but my mom was the primary caretaker at that time. And so my mom comes from very Hispanic background. She's from Ecuador. I told y'all she's mixed with a Caribbean. So there's a very different type of background. And that type of background is the type of is basically where they heavily reinforce success. They heavily reinforce doing well. That you're almost kind of striving, or a constant state of striving as you're being raised in this household, to perform, and you want to perform well. And in order to perform well, when you do perform well, that's when you get the love, the gratitude, the appreciation. They heavily celebrate those things, but in between those times is kind of a lull, right? It's not that there's no love at all, but it's more of the celebratory positive reinforcement when you perform well. And this is very this is standard parenting. But I think that that taught me that in and of myself, oh, I'm getting deep. In and of myself, I'm not good enough. When I make A's in school, when I'm this or when I'm that, when I graduate, when I get my master's, this and that, that's when I'm, you know, loved and celebrated, when I'm achieving, when I'm successful. But in and of myself, in my natural state, I'm not. That's not being celebrated. And it taught me, whether I realized it or not, that only when I'm performing and I'm performing well for someone, that's when I'm good enough. That's when I'm accepted. That's when I'm pleasing them. Um, that's when I receive love. And whether we realize it or not, we pattern those relationships throughout life. So in our romantic relationships, we might be people pleasing and trying to get somebody to see your value, and then they see your value, and then, whatever, maybe the relationship ends, you move on, and you start to have understandings about them that you didn't before. But in the beginning, you were just trying to please and be what they wanted to be and be who you thought you needed to be. And it's kind of like a performatory type of relationship. And when someone has struggles with limerance, they have a certain attachment style. That's what I have, which is I have an anxious attachment style. Done a lot of work with that, so it doesn't show up anymore as anxious. It shows up more as avoidant, which we'll get into a whole nother. I think there's like anxious avoidant or fearful avoidant, where I fall into that kind of category where I become more avoidant of actual vulnerability and connections because I'm afraid of what comes with that, right? So I don't want to get too close. I don't want to be too vulnerable. I don't want to give you enough proximity to my heart to hurt me, to disappoint me, to abandon me, to reject me. Whatever those negative feelings are, I distance myself to protect me. And any sign of any impropriety, I'm out. I'm just out. It is what it is. I'm out. And that's reinforced by negative experiences that have happened throughout my life. So then now it's like, okay, well, I know that people have the potential to harm me and hurt me and disappoint me. So because that has been reinforced, because I've seen that over and over again happen in my life, I do it. I mean, I do it. I know I do. It's a real thing that I'm struggling with and through, and understanding more of myself. Limerence is when, and women have the propensity to do this just like men do. We both have a propensity, depending on how you were raised, um, where you can get to a place where you obsess over somebody that you barely know. You might have went on one date with them, had one conversation, whatever that may be, and maybe it was a good vibe, maybe it was a good energy, maybe it was just somebody you saw in the internet space, whatever. Social media makes it feel like people that we have more access to, just because of the nature of DMs, comments, things like that. You could have somebody that you watch on TV end up being in your DMs. Like, that's a possibility. It doesn't happen frequently. It's not something that's highly likely for everybody, but it happens. And so because of that proximity, because of times changing, I think a lot of us struggle more with limerence than people even realize. And what happens is, because of this access, because of whatever that looks like for this person, whether that means like, let's say it's somebody you just went on one date with, or maybe it's somebody you see on social media space and you think they're attractive and things like that. And so you start to engage with them, you follow them, you start watching their videos, you start watching their content, you start watching their stories, whatever that may be for you. And you can get consumed with somebody. You can start obsessing about who they are and what it would be like to be with them. And you create a relationship with that thought more so than the actual person. Well, limerence gets you caught up in the thought, caught up in the fantasy versus the reality of who this person is, the good, the bad, and the different. When you're in limerence, you almost play down the bad and hyper emphasize the good. So you're never really seeing somebody as a complete person. You're seeing them as their fantasy, idealized version. And what happens is that you can end up, when you put somebody on a pedestal, what I've learned is that you're never having a real relationship with this person, this human being, with all aspects of self. You're having a relationship with, you're really in a relationship with trying to basically get their approval. So that says something about you. So if you guys are on here listening, and there's somebody in your life that you want, you find, maybe you identify with this, you're like, you know what, I think I struggle with this too. And listen, there's no shame here, right? We just being honest. The More Than Just Pretty podcast, we are just being honest. But if I'm being real, Sam, I struggle with this too. There's people that I've dated or people that I see, and I'm just so consumed with them. I think about them, I fantasize about them, and a lot of that, like, you can like put off as like a crush or somebody you just crush. It's a higher level crush, right? Crush is one thing. Limerence is another thing, because crushes can be more controllable. You can think about, you can go to a gym and be like, oh, that's my gym crush. Or you could go to, I don't know, you be on social media, oh, that's my crush on the internet, It's something that you could kind of put away. Like, it's not out of sight, out of mind type of thing. Like, you see them, you're like, ooh, they attractive. You know what I'm saying? Like, ooh. But it's not something that like gets in the way of your day-to-day thought processes. Whereas with limerence is a higher level of that, where you do think about them even when you don't see them. You're not thinking about them as a person, though. You're thinking about the fantasy version of them and whatever that represents, right? So some people, they might obsess over a celebrity and have this limerence over somebody that they see, and they're like, oh my gosh, you're so dope, and they just seem so good, and they got, I always play around, y'all. They got this daddy energy, and it's just so much, like blah, 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 blah. And you could just get into your head, like, I know that if I was with them, then this would be like that. And you could fantasize and fantasize. And then what happens though, y'all? This is what happens though. You can get so caught up in the idealized version of who somebody is that when you actually get with the real version of them, you realize that you kind of prefer the idealized version over the real one.
What's the easiest choice you can make? Window instead of middle seat? Picking a vendor who sends a great gift basket? Outsourcing business tasks you hate? What about selling with Shopify? Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. From the launch your online shop stage to the first real-life store stage, all the way to the did we just hit a million orders stage. Shopify's there to help you grow. Whether you're selling scented soap or offering outdoor outfits, Shopify helps you sell. Wherever and whatever you're selling, Shopify's got you covered. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/try. Go to shopify.com/try now to grow your business, no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/try.
Ooh. You like, wait, hold on. You know what? My idealized version didn't do it like that, didn't say it like that, didn't respond like that, didn't conduct things with me. So now when they're being a human with different aspects of self, now you're like sitting here like, wait, hold up, who is this? And they're like, wait, this is who I am. Who are you? And sometimes with limerence, they say that it's very much a situation where it's people that are unattainable for whatever reason. And so that might be somebody that there's no way that this is going to happen. You're never going to meet this person. It's never going to, like, it's just whatever that may be in your world. If you're struggling with it, if you just like me, if you've ever had to struggle with this. Well, for me, I had to identify that if you've listened to my podcast, you've heard that I've said in prior episodes, I've learned that I'm emotionally unavailable, that I have aspects of self that kind of closes off and is afraid and doesn't want to connect. And I think that that's happened because for a myriad of reasons. It's not just one. But what I've learned in understanding myself a little bit better and understanding God a little bit more, it's like God does something that's crazy, y'all. And this is kind of where I'm getting to. I just had this realization. I just had this, like, I just saw something on limerence. Like, wait, I kind of do that a little bit, because y'all be having crushes and all my little hormones be moving. I'll be like, oh my God, I'm excited about this person. Ooh. And, you can get into a whole mindset about who this person is. And then when they there's things that happen in reality that conflict with the idealized version. And you're like, oh, I'm off him. It's like, wait, but he just being a human. He's being a human saying, well, the man in my head wouldn't have done that. The man in my head would have done this, this, and this, and this, and this. And then it helps. And this is going to sound crazy, but it helps me protect me. Because then I'm always in a state of not really connecting. I never really actually do what I thought I wanted to do. Yet you put somebody so much on a pedestal that at some point they show their human side. They show that they're not perfect. They show that they have, like aspects of self that may be unprecedented. And then you're like, dang, wait, hold on, they are human. And I can't downplay the flags that I'm seeing. I can't downplay the things that I am hearing from you or I'm experiencing with you. I can't downplay that now. So now I'm like, oh, I'm off this. I thought it was going to be like this. But I've learned that what I'm learning is that with certain attachment styles, this is what we do to protect ourselves because of whatever we've experienced in the past. And that this type of dynamic reinforces the attachment style. It puts us in almost a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like, oh, I knew this was going to be like this. So I'm able to push off and kind of stay away and enjoy the fantasy of this person versus the reality of this person. I can be in this fantasy, idealized relationship with this person, might be everything that I'm looking for, and this, that, and the third. And he's gonna bring into my life what I want him to bring, and but it's very, very in your head. And they call it an addiction to love. Isn't that crazy? An addiction to love. You want the connection. You want certain aspects of it. But the reality and the duality of getting to know somebody, the back and the front, they may be a blessing, but there's a backside to every blessing. That's the part. And I think in today's world, we struggle with this even more than ever because of social media. You see somebody and you could fall in love with an image, fall in love with a persona, fall in love with how they think and what you see and everything like that. But you haven't really taken into account what it would mean for y'all's energies to come together, and what does it actually look like, and how does that really manifest, and does this really work, and you're not really thinking all that through. You're just saying from the outside looking in, that person, if they was in my life, they would answer all the problems, every single insecurity, every single thing that I'm thinking. If it's a man, it could be the companionship. I want to come home to a female that I'm excited about. I want, it sounds like she would be cool to hang out with, vibe with, and we would have, I'm super attracted to her. So it'd be great to wake up to her and great to go to sleep to her, go to bed to her, whatever. You can get caught up in the thought, but then when the reality hits, like, wait, hold up, that was not what I thought it was. I meet a lot of men that would be like, oh, I took her out on a date. I thought she was so bad on the internet. She was just this, and this, and this. And then when I met her, yeah. If only the image I had of her in my mind matched reality. And when we're in limerance, we tend to, like I said, overemphasize the good, underemphasize the bad, until we get to a place where, limerance can last for a couple months to a couple years. For some people I've read, it lasted 6, 7 years with an unrequited love, somebody that doesn't love them back. And understanding this about myself and learning this about, really just understanding this about myself, I can see that a lot of the reason why God does what he does with me, and I'll tell you what he does, I'm going to be a little bit transparent here. God is funny because God knows that I'm this. I didn't know I was this until recently, right? I didn't realize like my attachment style, this, that, and the third, because y'all, when you alone, you everything you do makes sense to you, right? So everything I do makes sense to me. Like, I'm like, okay, cut them up. Okay, I'm done with it. I'm done. You just, you on your little island, and I like being on my little island. I want companionship from time to time, but I like my little island. I'm not hurt on my little island. I control the temperature on my island. Whatever that may be, I do what I want to do on my island, right? And then when God will, something will happen, I'll meet somebody or, whatever happens, start conversation, like, oh, you know what, I like, da, 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 da. Y'all, I hate that I'm saying this. I'll connect with somebody, I like them. And then I'll like, ooh, like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited about this person. It's like a schoolgirl crush. And I love that schoolgirl crush feeling, y'all. There's something about that thing. I read online that it's like, it has addictive properties to be excited about it, have butterflies in your stomach type of feeling. And, you get all into that. And then, what will happen is I get excited. We have a conversation. Oh gosh, I'm excited about this person, and then something will happen every single time, y'all. Every single time something will happen. And God don't allow me to go as far as I used to go. Because I could be, you can be limerent in a relationship. You can have this feelings of limerence. And then when limerence runs out and you're faced with the reality of who you're with and who they were to you, you're like, oh no, I don't want this long term. This is not what I want to marry. This is not somebody I want to be with long term at all. I was in my head. I was super excited, but this is not what I want for myself and for my life. And women struggle with this. We do. So we'll overemphasize the positive qualities and they'll look more attractive to us. And we'll just kind of, put aside the bad and all the red flags that came with just because we are excited about them and we infatuated with them and this and the third. And what I realize is that God in my life, as I've, grown in my relationship with him, is that he will allow me, I have that moment, I get excited, and then something will happen almost immediately that will have me realize like it's unavoidable. Like I cannot escape the reality of what just happened. It'd be like, okay, that happened. And it will force me to have to kick somebody off the pedestal. He will like, and before, like I said, he would let me kind of go with it, especially as a younger woman. But now, as I'm learning about this state of mind and my upbringing and how it plays into my relationships, and I'm trying to heal, I'm on this journey, and I'm realizing that I get so excited. I'm like, oh, I like you. I'm excited about you. And I'm overemphasizing the good and not really focusing on the bad, that now God will put me in a position where I'm getting to know somebody and they will do something that I cannot ignore, that is not aligned with my spirit. Okay, let's just say it like that. It's something that I call it the holy eject button. Yep, that's what I call it. The holy eject button. Something will happen, pop, and it will I cannot ignore what I just experienced. I cannot ignore what you just did. I cannot get so caught up in my infatuation and my thoughts of you that I can ignore this. And that will have me disengage. And God will have that person, because I disengaged, that person, comes back around or whatever happens later. And I'm able to engage with them as a real person. Y'all, I'm about to shout because y'all don't realize why I'm shouting. And I don't want to get so excited that I can't express my point. Some of us wonder why we haven't found the person that we're looking for and things like that. Why we're, kind of where we are. And I think a lot of what God has called me to do in this situation is take accountability of who I am and how I think and my makeup. So that when I do decide to be in a situation, when I do decide to connect with somebody, when I do decide to open myself up to somebody again, I will be a healthier version of myself. I will show up and I will be an asset to that person. I will add to their life. I will be everything that I want to be. I want to compliment. I want to support. I want to shoot anything that everybody wants different things, but I want to be something that they can't live without. That's what I want to be. I want to provide so much value that it's like, wow, dang, I don't know what my life was without this woman. That's how much value I want to bring. But what God will do, instead of allowing me to kind of connect with them when I'm limerent, when I'm in my obsessive, crushy phase where I'm excited, I'm not seeing nothing negative, He gonna allow them to do something that makes me press the holy eject button, and then they'll come back around at some point, and then I'll be able to engage with them as a person because He knows His daughter. Sometimes, y'all, we don't realize how good our God is. We're mad at things not working out when we want it to. We want to connect with people and we wonder why it's not happening as fast as we want it, when we want it, how we want it. Why isn't this happening? Where's the tracking number? This, that, and the third. We say all these different things, but we don't even realize that sometimes some of why that occurs is because of God's sovereignty, that he's good in the midst of our own dysfunction, that we may think that in our own spirit, in our own minds, in our own soul, that we are ready for things that we really aren't ready for. And then we want to connect with somebody, but we're not really even in the position. And I was talking to my homegirl. I'm like, I don't understand why this happens. And she's like, I'm sure God is protecting you. But what I did not understand and what I did not foresee is that God was protecting me from me. God was so good that he decided he was going to protect me from me. And I'm not emotional because I just got hurt or anything like that. That's not why. There are moments in my journey in life that I wonder why things didn't play out the way I wanted them to. And I'll look back like years later and I'll be like, that's exactly why that shouldn't have worked out. Like, I'm thankful God didn't give me what I wanted in that moment. I'm thankful that he didn't just say yes to me because he loved me. He gave me what I needed, even though I didn't know I needed it. And I'm here to tell you today that even in my newfound understanding of myself, that there's an aspect of me that I didn't even realize I was struggling with, a dysfunction that I didn't even know I had, that God was protecting me from. He was protecting me from. He knew that, okay, in this moment, you're not going to be the version of you I need you to be to receive this. And so sometimes, y'all, we be trying to rush things and make things happen, and we wonder why the relationship didn't work out. Why isn't this happening in the moment? Why am I not attracting what I want? Why? And God is like, you're not ready. I can't give you what you're asking me for because you're actually not ready for what you're praying for. I know you think that you're ready. I know you think there's been enough time. I know you're taking account of your age. I know you're taking account of all your experiences. But what I want you to understand is that a part of why I can't give you what you've been praying for is that you are not in the position and you think that what you do is normal. But once you really pull back the layers, you'll understand that the reason why I didn't give it to you in the moment that you asked me for it is because you wasn't ready. That all these blessings that I have for you, all these people that you want to connect with, if you connect with it now, you'll ruin it. If you connect with them now, you're not going to see them the way I need you to see them. You're not going to be who I need you to be. You're going to be so caught up in trying to please them and make them happy that you're not going to see what I need you to see, Sam. And so I'm actually protecting you from you because you've been carrying this since childhood. You've been wanting to please and appease people, and they call it fawning, but you just want to love somebody and love somebody and love somebody that you're not even in a place where you can really see who this person is for real, for real. You'll be so caught up in wanting for them to love you and to see you and to validate you and to choose you that you won't be able to see who they are. And you'll be choosing somebody off of choosing you and not you choosing them for everything they are, for who they actually are, for every aspect of themselves that they are. That a reason why it has to happen this way is a variable you don't even know about you yet. That I am so sovereign, that I am so good, and that I love you so much that sometimes I do have to disappoint you. Sometimes I do have to say no. Sometimes I do have to break your own heart to save your soul. But the disappointment is a part of the plan. That in the garden, when Jesus was preparing to go to the cross, he cries out to the God. He cries out to him. He says, listen, God, I don't want to do this. I actually don't want to have to do this whole death thing. Like, I actually don't want to do this especially for these people. I don't want to do it for them. Okay. I done seen the destruction. I done seen all they did. I really don't want to do it. But he says, but God, as much as I don't want this, not my will, but yours be done. That in that moment, he made a decision. That even though I want certain things, I understand that there's a bigger plan at work. That as much as this is uncomfortable, as much as I'm going to suffer, I do not want to allow me to get in the way of you. And when I say you, I mean God. I don't want me to get in the way of you. Y'all, some of us, if we're being honest today, there are things we're learning about ourselves every single day. That we might be the very ones sabotaging our own success in all facets of our lives because we think based upon just the variables that the world can see, we're ready for it. Not taking into account the variables that only God can see. The inner workings of yourself that you don't even realize are at work. So I want you guys today to really take an honest assessment of your life, who you are, where you want to be, and who you are today. Is that a version of you that can become what you desire for yourself ultimately? We used to do this, and I used to do some therapy in jail and prison systems, and it was called, I think it's called reality theory. And we would be like, okay, what do you ultimately want to be? And what are you doing today to get there? Is there actually, because y'all, we can talk about what we want and we can pray about it, but what are you doing to actually become what you desire? The goals that you have for yourself, what are you doing today? What version of you today is showing up that is going to bring about the results of your future goal of self? And sometimes they'd be like, I'm not really doing what I need to be doing right now, but I'm going to get it together. I'm going to get myself, I just got to get this going. And this, it's like, no. Baby steps every single day. And if you're limerent like me, if you struggle with things like this, like me, the first step that everybody says is just understanding you are limerent. Like, you are in a state of limerence. Like, okay, I'm limerent. This ain't real. This is me. This is me creating this. And it's not like, you have to just acknowledge that this is what you're dealing with. The first step to solving any problem is admitting where you are, what it is. It takes you out of fantasy and hold up, I'm tripping. You know what? I'm tripping. This is me. This is my stuff. Let me just talk and rock out with God real quick. I'm going to get back. I'm going to get myself together, and we're going to come at this the right way. So I want you today, as I conclude, are you ready to embrace your true self? Are you ready to embrace your true self? And I want you to thank God for the versions of you that may be in the way of the things that He has for you. And you don't even realize it. You don't even realize it yet. But He's actually protecting you from you. Thank you guys for spending your time with us on Love Samantha Lee, the More Than Just Pretty podcast. It's been a privilege to share this space with you where we celebrate being unapologetically ourselves. I hope today's episode has encouraged you to embrace your own unique beauty and the beauty in others. Don't forget to follow us and join our community on social media. Share your journey and insights, and let's continue this conversation. Until next time, remember, real beauty starts with you being true to yourself. I love y'all, and I'm going to talk to you guys soon.